Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky CAMILLERI. The first season of National Geographic's Genius explored the life of Albert Einstein, and with its second season, the show is exploring a different kind of genius, the artist. Genius Picasso breaks the life of Pablo Picasso into two periods, the rebellious young years and the older years, where Antonio Banderas plays a more comfortable, successful Picasso searching for his inner rebel. Let's take a look.
What is he like, this Picasso?
People say I am a genius, that it all came easily to me. The truth is, the only way to be a true artist is to work day and night. Lose yourself in it completely.
I want to paint like you, Papa.
Then I will teach you.
Can either of you paint something as extraordinary as that?
Your technique is all wrong. You have talent, but no discipline. I need to see things in a new way. Smash the rules.
She's his mistress?
One of them.
How many does he have?
How many women has he painted?
I want to paint you.
I want to paint you.
How is your new girlfriend?
She's whatever I need her to be. A bird, a storm, an idea.
One of us is leaving, Pablo.
You fight it out.
You were the one who said too much passion burns itself out.
You don't think I'm always right, do you?
You have children, women you love. Some things are more important than art.
No. Not to me.
He's a complete degenerate.
You did this.
No, you did. Everyone wants something from the great Picasso.
Everybody, please put your hands together for the cast of Genius Picasso: Robert Sheehan, Seth, Gabel, Sebastian Roche, Pierre Knight, Clemens Posi, and Samantha Cawley. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
Congratulations on the show. Second season of Genius. It's pretty incredible. It's beautiful, very well done. What was it like getting to tell the story of Picasso? Let's just start with that. You get the email that you're cast in this. Does that feel like a responsibility? What does that feel like?
Yeah, for me, I was in season 1 telling the story of Einstein.
True.
So when I got...
You knew that.
You knew that. When I got asked to come back, it was a real thrill because everyone at Nat Geo are wonderful, and so it's a real joy to work for.
And not everybody really from the first season was coming back. I mean, we see Johnny Flynn briefly in this.
And this
season.
guy.
That's right, excuse me. Yes. Right. Just gonna, why don't you guys just run this? I'll just step off here. Look, it was 2 years ago, guys. Leave me alone. I watch a lot of stuff every day.
Of course, yeah, content.
Exactly, there is a lot of content swimming around in my brain. Talk about who you played in the show.
I played Dora Maar, who was a very talented photographer and artist in her own right, but is also known as Pablo Picasso's weeping woman. She was one of his muses, along with the other women in the show.
Along with many of the other women in the show. Clemens, can you talk about...
And some of the men, come on now, ladies.
Right.
You're so demanding, crikey.
Can you talk about your character?
I play Françoise Gillot, who is a painter. And spent 10 years of her life with Picasso.
Right. What kind of work did she do as a painter? She's also like a cultural critic as well. Is that true, or is she just a painter?
No, she wrote a book about her life with Picasso called Life with Picasso, and she wrote many other books and sort of philosophy essays. And but I think she's sort of primarily, can you say that in English? A painter. And what sort of work? I don't know. She was a big admirer of Matisse and colorist, as you say. So she uses color beautifully. I'm not sure. I'd have to show you, and I don't have anything with me.
When you sign on for something like this and you're playing real life people, how much research do you want to do? How much research is good for the role, and how much can kind of get in the way, if at all?
Oh, jeez. I think I like doing as much as I possibly can, and then, I mean, obviously everything has to come from the text, but I feel, especially with this group of people, or any group of people, but especially this group of people, that you want to come as prepared as you possibly can. That's
I just peeked over TR's shoulder and just cheated. Stole whatever he was working on.
Unless you're Seth, and then he just cheats. But no, I just think it helps. And also, there's a certain, not to get all like nerdy actory, but there's a certain kind of weight when you play a real person. And a responsibility, you know, to not, you know, have their ghost chase you and, you know, make your life a misery because you've you know, ruined their legacy. But no, these are all
probably only so much that you can allow to filter in. Like, you don't want to be doing an impression of any kind. You want to eventually find your own version of that person.
You do, well, because you have to do what the script, you know, says. But I think it all feeds you, and whether or not it's, I don't know how much of it's just for me or how much is read. I guess that's something else to worry about now. But I think it does help, and it does. I think it feeds you. Don't you guys agree?
I went to my character's grave in Paris.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. He was buried in this beautiful cemetery, and
Such a dark
I read him some poems, right? And then I fell asleep on his grave. It was really weird. It was really nice sleep, though.
You're still sleeping right now.
Yeah.
I could
surprised. Sleep anywhere. Challenge me, right? I'll sleep right here, live on AOL. But no, it was lovely, though. It was nice, you know. It was nice to do that.
Where is it? Père Lachaise or Montparnasse?
Oh, the other one.
Montparnasse.
You guys
like
know these places? Okay.
Hold on.
But if you're ever in Paris, the Père Lachaise is stunning, beautiful place. It looks like a sort of a city of the dead, you know. It's like these big, tall crypts. But it wasn't with that one. It was the other one.
It was Montparnasse.
The one, his name I can't remember, but it's this, the cemeteries in Paris are beautiful.
Before it's not relevant, I really want to see a movie where TR is being chased around by the ghost of a character he played.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get it right.
In fact, we should do that on stage right now.
And as for my case, there was absolutely no information about my character, so I had to basically, I play Émile Gillot, Françoise's dad, and I had to take it, you know, off of Clémence.
Fairly brutal.
Yeah,
Well,
I did
sometimes you just
research
honor the text, you know, as TR was saying, you know, first and foremost, it's about the script.
Your character is a primary influence, a lot of people say, on the blue period of Picasso.
I thought
right?
you were going to say he's
true?
a primary arsehole. I was like, he's a primary arsehole. Go on, sorry.
That was about it.
That's my own neuroses there. Go on.
Can you talk about who your character is in it?
Yeah, I played Carles Casagemas, who kind of became Picasso's best friend, really, when Picasso went to Barcelona when he was like 18 or 19 years of age, and he met a bunch of young upstart artists in a place called El Quatre Gats, which is still there. You should go there as well, actually, on this tour of Europe that I'm sending you all on. Yeah.
TripAdvisor, some sort of.
So anyway, they became good friends in Barcelona, and then they went to Paris together, Picasso and Casagemas. Casagemas kind of ran aground in Paris. He was in love with a girl who didn't want him, and he was addicted to opiates, and he was an alcoholic, and he was very young, and he came to quite a bad end, unfortunately.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on what drove him to that bad end, because the show is somewhat vague about exactly what it was that was wrong with him.
I mean, he's impotent.
Maybe I missed something. Sorry.
But it talks about his impotency.
Sure, but impotence could be a cause of depression. It could be a cause of his opiate addiction. All of these other things.
I think the booze and the opiates didn't help the erections. You know what I'm saying?
So you think he killed himself because he couldn't get erections? That's it.
I think it was the opiates.
I mean, that would be for starters. Yeah, that would. But but he.
Where is this going? It's like an abstract painting, an abstract.
I think Picasso would enjoy this conversation, to be honest.
He was depressed. And he was, you know, he had an unrequited love, and he was obsessed with this French model who they lived with called Germaine, and she, you know, she rejected him, and he took it really, really badly. So, you know.
Seth, can you talk about your character, who you play, and what it was like?
Sure, I play Guillaume Apollinaire, who's a French poet.
Fabulous poet.
Why, thank you. He's very cool. He was an art critic and a very surreal poet. He was actually credited with coining the term surrealism, also credited with coining cubism and orphism. Orphism, I think, is really cool. He was kind of the first person to think about actually taking abstract ideas, feelings, emotions, and trying to get that on a canvas. So instead of looking at the literal world and putting that in either 2D or 3D, he said, what if we take feelings and thoughts and just try to put that there? So I feel like he was very ahead of his time.
He coined surrealism? I didn't realize that.
He did.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was that?
Like a few days ago in 100 years or something.
Sorry, I didn't mean to quiz you. Sorry.
November 3rd, I think it was a Tuesday. Sorry, always a Tuesday. Monday's a bit too hectic. Friday, you're ready for the weekend. So Tuesday's your head's in the zone. Yeah.
You vote on Tuesdays in America, and in Europe, you coin art movements essentially on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. But he was very cool. I'm sure Clemence can, because she's French, can speak better to him than I can.
Just threw her under the bus.
Because when I looked over TR,
Research for him. I've got to talk about Apollinaire for you.
You learned that.
TR wasn't doing any research on my character, so I missed out.
I did some.
Max Jacob. TR plays Max Jacob.
They can't hear you.
I don't like the microphone. No, but you should talk about Max Jacob, who's an extraordinary figure in the art world in France, very, very influential.
That is true. I asked you about your research, and you said you did some, but you didn't tell me what was in it.
Max.
Not on purpose. No, Max befriended Picasso when he moved to Paris. So after. And Max was a poet. He was a painter. He was a writer, an art critic. And he introduced Pablo and Apollinaire. If there's the Three Musicians is a painting by Picasso. I think there's two versions, but that's Max is the monk, Apollinaire is Harlequin, and then Pablo himself, he painted himself as, I keep on saying this wrong, Pierrot? No, Pierrot.
Piero.
Piero.
Yes,
Right?
the
Piero?
actor. That was awful. Sorry. Oh!
Ow. Say it like you mean it.
Ouch. Ow.
TR does a lovely job in this, by the way. Most of my scenes were with him, and I think he really brings to life a beautifully complex character that exists on so many levels, as does the show, I think. Picasso's work works on so many levels. I mean, I understood Picasso to a point, like most of us have, going into this, and I think through this experience, I learned to understand the dimensionality of his work, that you can look at one point, and if you look at that single thing, it's a beautiful masterpiece of its own accord, and then you kind of step back and look at it in the context of all of these other masterpieces, and it becomes something else. And I feel like Ken Biller, the showrunner of the show, does a great job of kind of having all of these planes of existence and feeling and emotion and relationships between people kind of coexist at the same time and vacillates between them.
How familiar were each of you with Picasso before going into this? I mean, obviously it's Picasso. Everybody knows who Picasso is to a degree, but I think also sometimes people know who he is but haven't had their moment yet where they sort of recognize just how incredible his work was and how much how much of it there is.
I think that's the thing we're trying to do. We keep saying we're trying to separate the man from the myth. I didn't really know much about him. I didn't study Picasso at school. I knew him, as I say, as someone on a pedestal, and it was really good to learn about the constellation of everyone circling the genius.
As well, we were listening to Antonio talk about it earlier, and he was saying his generation when he grew up. He said General Franco, the fascist dictator of Spain, died when he was 15. So I didn't realize Picasso's political importance, until reading the scripts of the show and stuff. because he was seen as a sort of an icon of freedom, you know. So he had this huge political significance to Spanish people because they were, you know, under this totalitarian state. So that was interesting to kind of, because the show really explores all of that stuff as well, you know.
But also Guernica is one of the most important paintings that he painted, and it's really in response to the cowardly attack on this village. It's a real political statement. It's the first time art really became a political statement, and it was very, very important in its time. It was something that was very brave on the part of someone who was in exile from a dictatorship. But it was very moving. What Antonio was saying is that they adulated Picasso because he was a symbol of freedom. He was in exile. He never came back to Spain, but it was just very moving to see how the adulation for Picasso, for what he stood for freedom, for art, for he was a member of the Communist Party, so he represented everything that Franco was not. So that was really very moving to hear Antonio talk about that.
I love learning that Picasso didn't believe that art should decorate the walls of apartments. He called art an offensive and defensive weapon, and it should be used as such. And again, I didn't know that. So,
you have a mic?
Yeah, I also love. We got to go to Malaga, Spain, where both Picasso and Antonio are from, and do some press there. And we also got to see his personal collection, which were the paintings that he held on to and didn't sell because he wanted to hold on to them. And there were some incredible things there, especially one of his sister that he painted, I think, when he was 8, and she died a year or two later. And so he cherished that his whole life. And when you see it, it's done in the classical style, and you just see this, you know, genius 8-year-old. But what I also loved was when you see his later work, he became very devoted to trying to paint like a child again, which I thought was really amazing. That he wished he was never taught any training of any, you know, formal way of doing things, because he just wanted to get back to that basic innocence that we all have inside of us. And I feel like he saw that as the genius in all of us, just that basic innocence and that purity of heart.
There is something about looking at a Picasso that feels like there's very few people in any artistic medium where you can kind of look at it or be listening to it or watching it and go, oh, this is a master. I'm just looking at something by an absolute master at their craft right now. I can just kind of tell, even if I don't know that much about filmmaking or painting, I just can tell that this is, nobody else could have done this but this one person.
But there are people also who look at Picasso and say, I could have done that as a kid. You know, there's also
those people are assholes.
No. But what I mean is, no. But that's what's interesting about the artist. You know, when he painted Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, everyone rejected it until, you know, they realized the importance of the work. And I think that's what's interesting about any artist who is revolutionary. People will reject it. People will love it or reject it. That's what's interesting. It's the same with any piece of art. I think that's what makes him a true genius.
Were you going to say something? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Silence.
Hello. Hi. I wanted to know for each of you, if you were a real artist, what kind of art would you think you would be producing?
We are real artists.
Outside of acting. Outside of acting.
I'm joking.
Outside of acting.
Good acting.
I'd say like just crazy performance art, you know what I mean? Like, which is kind of what I do anyway. But you know, I like my form of expression, to be honest with you. But you mean if we weren't actors? If we were painters? If we were painters or
you were painters, what style?
Or sculptures or anything.
I think I like sculpture. That's why I'm better with that than a brush, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to make miniatures, so you can sculpt.
Nerd.
But they're really tiny, but they're very high quality, like if I was really good at it. Because then everyone would want it. And you'd have all these little kids playing with it and like the little...
Interactive.
Sculptor.
Clémence?
Do you know what? Sorry, Clémence.
No, there's a French artist called Nikita Saint-Phal who used to shoot guns at sort of painting covered in plaster and create sort of painting that way. I find that pretty cool. I'd like to give it a go.
So all of your art would be shooting guns at canvases?
Yeah, well, that's
It's beautiful.
No, I don't know. I say that, and I'm
Also,
rubbish with a gun. So I don't know.
I'd like to compose music of some kind, you know.
But they say painting or sculpting.
I'm an artist.
No, I think going back to the child stage, I think is really important. I think it's a beautiful way of just going with your instinct. And it's the same with sculpture, you know. I love sculpting matter, I love building things. That would be something that would be attractive, but in a way, in the most innocent way, without trying to be anyone, you know. Trying to just being yourself. I think that's the most important expression.
But also to speak to you, I think composing music is sculpting.
I know.
You know, and I mean, it's all kind of the same. It's all trying to take kind of esoteric feelings and intuitions that we have and manifest it in reality. And there's no clear way to do that. You know, there's no instructions for that. So we're all just kind of grasping at straws, and whatever comes out, if it seems to resonate, we call brilliant, and if it doesn't, we call crap.
Well, one more. Hi.
Hi, we're going to take our last question from an online viewer. Sam wants to know, are there any projects coming out that you're excited about, that you've done?
Any products?
Projects?
Project.
Oh, I thought you said product.
I was like, I'm the face of
I've got a new toaster.
laundry detergent. Projects. Well, this one.
Yes, this is
You know, I
coming out.
suppose
We're
we-
very excited about it.
Here to talk about this one. This one's coming out. It was April 24th.
Everybody talk about their other projects. Their other
Yeah, I suppose.
Make National Geographic very happy and promote your other projects. Right now.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm wildly excited about this coming out because I mean this is coming out in like 190 countries or something like that. That's amazing. You know the reach that this has. So I'm going to say this, right? Because I don't want Nat Geo to be mad at me.
I'm going to take a long shot here and say that everybody agrees with him.
I
on
agree.
This.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
And Jurassic World 2, my wife's in it. see it this summer.
True, sorry. Guys, congratulations on Genius Picasso. It airs April 24th, I believe, on Nat Geo. Everybody, please give them a round of applause for incredible work. Thank you.